What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Mack, one the host of the Black Heroes podcast, and today I want to do a video talking about who should be the main character of a Fire Emblem 3 House anime. Now, if you have played Fire Emblem, you understand that the story is broken down between the three class leaders, Claude, Demitri, and Edelgard, and you also have a secret route to where you could have Byleth honestly lead the charge of the Black Eagles himself to go into the second part of the story. So I want to kind of go and break down who is the least deserving and most deserving to be the main character of the anime, because, you know, if it's the anime and it follows the three houses guidelines, they're going to have to pick one of the characters and let them lead the charge. So, to give a quick warning, there will be spoilers containing for each part, so if you have not finished all parts, I do recommend finishing those first and then coming back to this video later. But if you don't care, or if you have finished all parts, then this will be right up your alley. So, let's get started with the least deserving to be the main character being...
I'm Claude Von Regan.
Yes, I believe Claude Von Regan, the leader of the Golden Deer House, is the least deserving to be the main character for a Three Houses anime. Now, this is no disrespect to Claude himself as a character. Claude is actually my second favorite character behind Edelgard, and it's mainly because of, like, Claude is Claude, you know? He's witty, he's funny, he actually has very good leadership tendencies. When you see him interact in these support conversations with the other characters, you get a good glimpse into how he grew up and how he thinks, which, I mean, he's a pretty fascinating person. And like I said, he's fun. But as far as the actual story goes, I think Edelgard put it best when she said,
"Your ideals. I understand they're not so far removed from my own. But without sufficient knowledge of this land's suffering, I can't entrust Fodlan to you."
And that's a fact. I mean, as much as I love Claude, he is an outsider. Claude really doesn't benefit from the story of Fodlan. He would more so benefit if he was trying to find a way to broker peace between Almyra and Fodlan, using the information that he gained from his time in Fodlan to be able to appease the Almyran way of life to the people from another continent. I think that's more so where his skills, talents, and where his story lie more than what's here in Fodlan, especially if you go through and play his parts of the game, because when you get to the end of it, he kind of doesn't really bring in anything for any part of it. Like, we didn't really learn too much about the Leicester Alliance, don't really have any big connections to any of the characters that are heavily involved in, like, the tragedy of Duscur, or even some of the suffering that happens during the Adrestian Empire. So, you know, it's, you know, the best thing that you get out of it is, you know, getting some of the lore, you know, with the 10 houses, or the 10 great families, you know, Nemesis, and kind of getting a little bit of a better understanding of Rhea's point of view with the whole situation with Byleth. But, you know, it's, end of the day, it's still not really all that good for what the actual story is focusing on, which is the trials and tribulations on the actual continent. So that's why I think Claude is the least deserving. Now let's move up to the second least deserving, which is...
I am Demitri Alexandra Blathed.
Yes, and this one might be a bit controversial because honestly, I feel like if you started off playing the Azure Moon route with the Blue Lions and Demitri, you will actually come to like Demitri a lot. I actually just finished that route. It was the last one I needed to play, and personally, I did like the route a lot. And as far as Demitri goes, I actually do like appreciate his character, but I think if he was to focus on the three houses, if they did focus on Demitri, we would have to actually dig a bit deeper into the tragedy of Duscur, because that's the thing that a majority of the citizens of Faerghus actually have to deal with. And it just feels like a lot of that wasn't really tackled. It was more so like, hey, here's a reveal, or hey, here's a reveal, and it didn't really lead too much to anything. So there's that, plus the whole situation with the Church of Seros, Byleth story, which I understand, you know, it's a little bit of a thing focused on Faerghus, but if you're going to have Byleth there, at least make Byleth necessary with their own story. So I think with Demitri, it'll be more so one-sided on him, and it could go through to talk about the tragedy of Duscur, but it's just something that really wouldn't fit, I think, with the issues of the Church of Seros, because that was just kind of left out there in the wind, which, I mean, makes sense, because you want to tackle the thing that's most important to Faerghus, but it's so many characters that it involved. It feels like it could have been more handled there instead of getting a little bit of a tidbit on it or some more reveals and then just ending the game off dealing with Edelgard. So, I just think for Demitri on what the anime should focus on, which would be mainly like, the lore of the country and also the lore like the Church of Seros and the issue with Rhea and stuff. You don't even see Rhea anymore in part 2 with Demitri. Like your whole time in the game, you're trying to find Rhea, and at the end of the game, you never see her. You beat Edelgard, and it's just like, all right, cool, game's over. It's like, hey, we put a lot of manpower to finding this woman to not care about it anymore. So yeah, I think with Demetri's, it's just like a little bit too much to focus on to not get too much of a reward. Now let's move on to who I think is the second most deserving, which is Byleth Einzer. So I believe with Byleth, the main things that could be focused on if they were the main character, and I mean personally, if I had to pick which gender I want, I'd probably pick the male, character, because I like to engross myself into the main character, and for a guy, it's easier to engross yourself with another guy, So I think with Byleth, their story is immensely interesting in general, just due to the fact that so much changes just by them being a part of the class. You have so many characters that actually change, and instead of just like hearing the stories and seeing the people actually adjust depending on how deep of a bond you create with them, it'll be nice to actually see Byleth get the opportunity to talk to these characters, learn about them, think about it, give responses, and in turn grow himself, because it's the whole situation where like people start talking about how Byleth changes, how Byleth starts being more expressive and stuff like that. But due to the way that the game is set, you don't really get to see that. You don't really get to hear that. I mean, Byleth really doesn't even talk outside of like the couple battle dialogues they have and stuff like that. So, it'll be actually nice to see that. And then if you go through with the Silver Snow story, you get a bit more into, the Church of Seros, some of the things with Rhea, some of the things concerning Byleth. So I think that would be helpful. But more so, I think it'll be cool to see Byleth just having to actually take charge. Because it's no longer like Edelgard's house. It's his group that he has to lead. So I think he would be the most beneficial of it. But as far as the most deserving, and there's no more names to call out, but I'll let her do it anyway.
My name is Edelgard von Hresbach.
That is correct. I think the most worthy to be the main character of a Fire Emblem Three Houses anime would be the Flame Emperor herself, Edelgard von Reschfelg. Now, maybe this is biased because Edelgard is my favorite character. I actually do think Edelgard has the best story in the entire series. I also just think that if you were to actually go through and have the story focused on Edelgard, and then you were to have Edelgard actually talk to a lot of the characters, not just in the Black Eagles, but in some of the Blue Lions house, you would honestly get the chance to see her really prove her point and what's wrong with the world of Folan. She honestly has an understanding of what's going on, who's the fault, like who's at blame, and the best way to go through and fix it. I mean, a lot of people who probably have issues with Edelgard for the fact that she does go to war, she causes a lot of damage, she causes a lot of death and stuff like that. If you play the Blue Lions or the Golden Deer route, you really won't get the opportunity to get to know her, to have her talk to other people, to see that like it's not just a thing of somebody wanting power. And I think you actually get to see that from the other routes. She's not just some tyrant who wants to go through and get power. She really does believe that she's going through and putting up a worthy fight and a worthy sacrifice to try and make the world better due to some of the sacrifices she dealt with herself. I mean, you're talking about a girl who had to watch all her siblings die, who had to go through painful experiments, who, had to watch her father get betrayed and just be treated, like a scapegoat for all the stuff that the other nobles and Adrestia just wanted to do. So it'll be kind of good to see some of that. And also, I think with the anime, you could see some changes with some of the characters. For example, I think it would be really cool that after she does her reveal, you see an argument between her and Ferdinand and see him leave. You know, I think it would be really cool to have her have a conversation with people like Felix or Sylvain or even someone like Ingrid. Definitely Ash. I mean, if anybody was going to lead the field of the Blue Lions to go up against the Church of Cells, it will definitely be Ash. And I think with her, it'll be something really interesting to kind of get the opportunity to see. Plus, I really think if she was to actually have a conversation with Claude, I think she would be able to get him on her side. Even though he doesn't agree with the war and trying to actually cause so much havoc to make change, if those two would actually have a sit down, it would be a pretty good sight. So yes, I do believe that with Edelgard, you would be able to get the most out of the story, and you would also get the most out of a lot of characters, if she is the main character of Fire Emblem Three Houses. But that's the video. If you have your own opinion on who you believe should be the main character of a Fire Emblem Three Houses anime, please leave it in the comment section. You know, really looking forward to having a conversation about this because I am a huge fan of the game and I am a huge fan of all the leaders. And I mean, hey, Edelgard is my favorite, but the other two ain't bad neither. So let me know your favorite. Let me know your favorite characters, who you think would benefit the most out of an anime, and be on the lookout for a video detailing what a Fire Emblem anime would look like if it was actually made. But that's it for today. Thank y'all for watching. See you next time. Peace.